Good morning, everybody. Well, actually, it's afternoon. Priscilla, second year student here at Columbia and working on a Master's of Divinity.
Okay. And hi, everybody. I'm Janine Fulton. I am second year, also working on my MDiv, and I live right here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hi, I'm Sun. I'm also second year MDiv student, Sun Choi. I live in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Hello, I'm also second year dual degree student. I live in New York, Bronx. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we together are the brave souls who decided to be the first group to post a review and do a podcast on Beal's book. So we're doing chapter 3, Apocalypse Now. And I'm going to summarize it just a little, and then somebody else may chime in. But the chapter spans across a little over about 170 years from 303 CE to after and right at the fall of the Roman Empire, which was 476 CE, I believe. And it talks about the state of Christianity, the state of believers, and also what was going on during that time. It starts off talking about the Roman emperor, and I may pronounce this wrong. Everybody help me out. Is it Diocletian? Diocletian. I knew I was going to mess it up. Yeah, Diocletian. And basically the risk of persecution and the horrible things that happened to believers during that time, and how the church was forced to change and burn up some of the doctrine that they were using. And so it talks about those difficult times that the Christians and believers were going through. And then it talks about how there was a shift along the way when the Roman Empire and Rome actually became Christian. Mm-hmm. And it talks about the dichotomy between, we have this image of a group that was evil, so to speak, and against all the beliefs, but now has turned the corner. But talks about, well, how does Revelation actually fit into this context? And because the Roman Empire was viewed in such a negative way by the believers. So how did Revelation actually fit into the canon? So then it brings in Augustine and Augustine's view of Revelation and believers, and it talks about I'm gonna mess this up again, millenarianism.
Very good, you got it.
Oh, hey, I got that. And their beliefs, and then Augustine's response to that. So it talks about these two different beliefs of, is the apocalypse going to happen now? Is Revelation happening now? It talks about first coming and second coming, and then Augustine's view of it. And that's chapter 3, Janine's version in a nutshell. Anybody else want to chime in?
I think you did an excellent job with it. I found it very interesting how Augustine felt like that first coming has already happened, and it happened when Christ came. And so that's when Christ came, and he paid it all at that point. And that, that we're going, that the second part that is coming, I don't know, it doesn't seem quite, to me, it doesn't seem quite as scary as Revelations puts it. Even though I see it does say that like there would be like evil for like 3 years, and then Christ would come and be victorious again. And then after that point, you've got a little bit more happening. So what I found in the chapter is just a little bit of everything that I think I've been taught since I was a little kid, the stuff that sort of scares you a little bit. But I found a little humor in this with Augustine. I'm sure that he was like very, very serious, but I found that actually when I was looking at some of the things, I was like, well, that's kind of funny. So, but anyway.
I find two most interesting things in the chapter, as my takeaways. The first one has to do with the Roman Empire,
Mm-hmm.
an empire that was seen to be destroying Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
issuing edicts and decrees for the scriptures to be banned, Christians to be arrested and persecuted, some were even burnt to death. Then the same imperialist nation, God turned around to use them.
Yeah, that oxymoron.
And build the church was surprising to me, that the way God can just turn things around.
Wow.
The same people to, develop the scriptures, the structures of the church, the hierarchical system, organizing it and protecting it now.
Mm-hmm.
So we see from destruction to building.
Yes.
It was surprising to me, the way it happened. And also locating the enemy now, because, the whore, which is the Babylon whore, which used to be the Roman Empire, now that because they are now supporting, they have to locate a different enemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And these are my takeaways. Yeah, amazing the way, they turn the whole thing around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in such a short time that there was that shift, and that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought, like, when I thought of martyr, the people who died when they proclaimed Jesus, when I think of them, I always admire their faith. I still admire their faith, but in this book, in some part of it, their faith was based upon the fear that they might get judged by Christ, even harder. Right. So that was a little sad for me. That occurs to me like sad, because I wanted their faith to be as pure as possible, but somehow they were afraid of being even more harshly punished by Jesus or God. So, yeah, that was a new thing to me.
One thing I found interesting that was also to me a little bit confusing was the beliefs of those in the millennialism, and how they believed that this was going to occur, the apocalypse would occur after the Sabbath or after the seventh millennium. But yet they thought that it was going to happen soon. I couldn't wrap my head around all that. It was one sentence in that chapter. Did you all read that or kind of come to grips with their?
Yes, Jamie, we all read it, and I was also surprised because it wasn't their fault. The scripture says it. It gave an instances. I'm coming soon. I'm bringing your reward soon. So you have this language of soon, which to me seems immediate. Maybe 2, 3 years, 10 years, Christ will come with the reward. That is why we are enduring. That is why we are being killed. And we still don't mind holding on to the scriptures, because the reward will be coming. Then all of a sudden, it is not coming, it is prolonging. So I even asked myself, if I, Eddie, were to be among those people, what would have been my conclusion? Because if I have endured for 20 years, 30 years, 35 years, and still waiting, what would have been my conclusion or my stand then?
I agree with Augustine because he said, it's crazy for us to even think that we know when this is going to happen. And I think he also highlighted the scripture where it said even Jesus didn't know when this was going to happen. So trying to actually pinpoint it is one thing, but then too, I do understand you're going through all this torture, you're going through you're living a life, trying to live a life for Christ, and you immediately you don't really see the rewards of it. So you're looking forward to the coming. I sort of get that. But I'm an optimist, I guess. I don't know. I just like how Augustine was saying that. To me, he was saying, just hold on. Like it's going to get better. That is what I read from it.
Yeah, I think there was a quote. I was going to try to find it. Here it is. I found it. The last sentence, it says, Beal says, at the same time, he gave it a new millennium-long shelf life, thereby securing its place as scripture, at least for the foreseeable future. So he extended and kind of pushed back on that theory that we would know, saying that it was more figurative than actually literal.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most important points that Beal wanted to point out, because before Jesus has to come right now because our persecution is so hard to bear. Then now Christianity became the nation's religion, and we don't have Jesus to come back right now. So in that position, Augustine make the day kind of prolonged. I don't know. So yeah, that makes even more sense to rest of the Christians after the Constantine the Great. He changed his decision.
And I think this one of the great contributions of Augustine to explaining Revelation. Yes, because even back at home in Africa or Ghana, you go to evangelism and people will ask you that question. That Christ said centuries ago that I'm going to come back, and he's still not come. So what is your hope that he will come? And I think Augustine here gave us the answer. I wish I had known this earlier, to be giving them this answer, that Augustine has already answered it. Yes.
And I just wonder how you were feeling about Augustine's explanation about the resurrected body. That was quite.
Oh, that was funny. What, that was
crazy. Yeah, I was, we always hear there's gonna be a new earth and you're gonna be resurrected with a new body. And so, and my thing was, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna finally be that 36, 24, 36. But he's clear. I think the BMI is going to be the same. So, yeah. But with that though, I also thought about how our loved ones die and how they look so at peace. So that sort of made sense to me, because I'll just use the example of someone that I knew that had been on drugs very bad. And when they died, and when they, even though I know that there's chemicals in the body of whatever, but it reminded me, I said, this is how it's going to be when we're in our resurrected bodies, that we're going to come back better than ever, because you would never have been able to look at this person. It's like it was like he had a whole new body. And I think that's the thing. That's what we've always been taught. It's going to be a new body. But Augustine said, nah, you're going to. Yeah.
And two, you brought up a good point. Augustine's theory, I'll call it, or views that Revelation 20 has already occurred, and that first death, so to speak, is one of spiritual,
right?
Us, those accepting Christ, but I also think of it as when the spirit leaves the body, and we actually have a physical death, but then the second coming of Christ, when we'll have the resurrected body from his point of view, is one of a physical body.
Right.
So I just I found that very interesting, and I just like everybody else, I kind of had like an aha moment, like a light bulb moment, like, oh, okay. Because every time I watch somebody preaching Revelation on TV, I turn it off. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
It's like I want to poke holes in it, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. I don't think it's because many pastors preach it in a literal sense. And
Yes.
I don't know if I could ever do that, because I would feel so inadequate to do so, because it just seems so, there's so many unknowns. But I did like Augustine's, he did shed light on all the questions that were roaming around in my head. So I would like to read The City of God in its totality.
Yeah. I think so too. I think that would be, because most of what we do and a lot of the way that we believe in Christendom today is based on Augustine. That's another thing that I was surprised about. I know that Paul wrote most of the what is it? I can't remember the percentage of
New Testament.
Yeah, but August, the thing, how we think about things, I was surprised to see that a lot of that came from Augustine.
Yeah. And I also want to read more about the city of God, and especially under the subheading "Ready but Not Yet." Yeah.
Okay, so everybody, it was nice discussing this chapter with you this evening. This afternoon.
Yeah.
Thanks for this nice conversation.
Thank you all.
It was a nice conversation. God bless you.
All right.